Hello, everybody. This is Paul with Torah Life Ministries. And one of the goals and the things I do here at this ministry is to expose the truth of things to people. And history has a wonderful way uh, to reveal the truth of certain things. A lot of things get muddied down or dummied down, so people don't understand how certain things began to be certain things. But when we go and we look at how things became certain things, just in general, we start to see the truth, and it's quite a scary truth on many different levels sometimes when we realize how dark some of our history is and the customs we have become used to taking part of. So I want to let everybody know today is Valentine's Day, and a lot of people will just celebrate things and let their children celebrate things, which is even scarier, without looking at the origins of these things. So I just want to give you a little reality of this dark day of Valentine's Day and what it was really about and what we're really celebrating. And it's not as a popular holiday as maybe Christmas or Easter or something else, but a lot of these and most of these days are not holy days from Scripture. They're holidays or pagan days that somehow throughout history have pagan origins and just really, really darkness connected to them. The fact that we are keeping these today and letting our children celebrate these days makes it even scarier. But hopefully, when we learn about the history, we will want nothing to do with these days. A lot of people are just destroyed for lack of knowledge, right? Well, I'm going to give you some of that knowledge, and then you have that choice to make the decision you want to make about these particular days. So there's an article here that says the dark origins of Valentine's Day that I'm going to read to you right now. We're going to discuss this. The dark origins of Valentine's Day. So before your local church has that Valentine's Day party, or you go on that Valentine's Day date, or somebody asks you to be their Valentine, think about what they're really asking and how foolish it would be to partake in this day or this event if you knew the truth. And then when you know the truth, to say, sure, I will be, or sure, I'll do that. You just think about this, and there's so many days in our calendar. Why do we consistently try to take a pagan festival or a pagan day and turn it into something fun or nice or good? There's so many other opportunities and days to and chances to exalt and favor our wonderful Messiah and so on. But people instead are taking part in these evil darkness days. What about having like a circumcised heart day that has nothing to do around this time? Let's say one day in the summer, circumcised day of the heart, because for everybody that's circumcised heart. Or a day of the martyrs. You know, we have all these political figures that have died, or movie stars that have died, and they put their face on stamps and they give them certain holidays. What we get. The Bible is clear on birthdays, but they give us off on Lincoln and Washington's birthday. Why don't you give us off on Yeshua, on Yeshua or the Apostle Paul or these birthdays and everything else? And nobody try to pull me that. Oh, well, they do December 25th. That's not Yeshua's birthday. So go learn yourself some history if you think that's the case. So let's read about the dark origins of Valentine's Day. I do this not to upset you or make you put you in a bad mood. I do this to just alert you to the reality of these things. So the next time somebody says, will you be my Valentine? You could say, do you know the history of Valentine? You still want to partake in this day? So let's say Valentine's Day is a time to celebrate romance and love and kissy facing. But the origins of the festival of candy and cupids are actually dark, bloody, and a bit muddled. Though no one has pinpointed the exact origin of the holiday, one good place to start is ancient Rome, where men hit on women by, hitting them. Oh, well, it just seems so appropriate in a world today where the Me Too movement and the women's movement and also the feminist movement would still celebrate a day that has origins in men hitting women. This is the craziest society we live in today. We don't think about history or look at history, but at the same time, we celebrate the same days. It's just weird. It says from February 13th to February 15th, the Romans celebrated the feast of Lupercilia. The men sacrificed a goat and a dog and then whipped women with the hides of the animals that they have just slain. Oh, can you imagine if this was going on today? Besides the activists of Peter getting upset about the animals and that part of it, about what the women would be saying and what the court would be saying on all the men and everything else. But that's just the history. The Roman romantics would get drunk. They were naked, says Noel Lansky, a historian at the University of Colorado Boulder. Young women would actually line up for the men to hit them. Lansky says they believed this would make them fertile. There's an idea for today. Young naked women could line up waiting for men to hit them so they could be more fertile and have babies. Wait a second. That might in fact be the reality of what's going on today. That's how we get into so much of the trouble we're in today. Anyway, I guess apparently this holiday still has a lot of things that are going on today in it. It says the brutal faith included a matchmaking lottery in which young men drew the names of women from a jar. The couple would then be uncoupled for the duration of the festival or longer, if the match was right. If the match was right. How did they know if the match was right? I'll leave that up for you to figure out or think about while we continue reading. The ancient Romans may also be responsible for the name of the modern-day love. Emperor Claudius II executed two men, both named Valentine. Interesting history, right? Both named Valentine on February 14th of different years in the 3rd century AD. I just love history. I love history. Their martyrdom was honored by the Catholic Church with the celebration of, guess what? St. Valentine's Day. Later, Pope Gelasius I muddled things in the 5th century by combining St. Valentine's Day with Lupercalia to expel the pagan rituals. But the festival was more of a theological interpretation of what had once been. Lansky adds, it was a little more of a drunken party, but the Christians put clothes back on it. They didn't stop it from being a day of fertility and love. So now we're starting to hear some of the history of this day. Are you still going to tell your husband to go out and get you some flowers for Valentine's Day? Or are you still waiting to ask your girlfriend to be your Valentine today and all this other stuff as we hear about this history? Are you still going to your church party that's having a Valentine's Day party? Folks, you have to make the choice, but history speaks for itself. Around the same time, the Normans celebrated Galatine's Day. Galatin meant lover of women. That was likely confused with St. Valentine's Day at some point, in part because they sound alike. And then we look at Shakespeare. It says, as the years went on, the holiday grew sweeter. Chaucer and Shakespeare romanticized it in their work, and it gained popularity throughout Britain and the rest of Europe. Handmade paper cards became the tokens du jour of the Middle Ages. Eventually, the tradition made its way to the New World. The Industrial Revolution ushered in factory-made cards in the 19th century, and in 1913, Hallmark Cards of Kansas City, Missouri, began mass-producing Valentine's Day, and February has not been the same since. Valentine's Day. And got to hand it to Hallmark, definitely a wise business people on capitalizing on these pagan days and rituals that people had. Today, the holiday is big business, according to the market research. Valentine's Day sales reached $17.6 billion last year. This year's are expected to be $18 billion, and this was written in 2011. But the commercialization has spoiled the day of many. Helen Fisher, the sociologist at Rutgers University, says, we have only ourselves to blame. This isn't a common performance, she says. If people didn't want to buy Hallmark cards, they would not be bought, and Hallmark would go out of business. And I just think about the feminist movement and the Me Too, not the U2, the Me Too movement. and all the crazy stuff going on today, that a man can't breathe or walk in a straight line today without getting accused of something. And this day that people are celebrating, where women were getting beaten as they were naked, lining up for men to couple with them, and how women today are depressed or upset if somebody doesn't ask them to be their Valentine. And when you see the history of these things, most people just continue to ignore these things, but reality speaks reality. It says, and so the celebration of Valentine's Day goes on in varied ways. Many will break the bank by buying jewelry and flowers for their beloveds. Others will celebrate in a sad, that single awareness day way, dining alone and binging on self-gifted chocolates. A few may even be spending this day the same way the early Romans did. But let's not go there. So that was an article, wonderful article. Just love history, and I'm sure you could find a tremendous amount of more stuff on Valentine's Day and the history of it and the pagan origins of it. And some people say, well, what's the we do it different today, so what's the difficulty of it? Why can't we just celebrate it the way we do, as a happy, joyous festival and feast? And if you're even asking that question, that you don't understand the history and the connection to this and what the Bible says just about departing yourselves or separating yourself from the world ways and what the world does, if you're even entertaining the idea after hearing this truth, research it yourself. But after hearing this truth, if you're even entertaining the idea of doing something nice on this day for somebody, which you should treat everyone nice every single day. You shouldn't just have one day every year you get your spouse flowers or something like this. But that's what people do. And we wonder why. We wonder why that we're held in bondage and we're not out of the promise, or out of the captured land and into the promised land. We have to make those choices. As my shirt says, no Yeshua, no peace. Enough said. I hope this educated you and you make some right decisions today. And I know some of you men are going to be quite pleased to share this with your wives. So now you don't have to waste money on a Valentine's Day gift. But hopefully your wives will humbly be in agreement that this is a day that they do not want to partake on. And before you may get too happy about not buying your wife flowers or other gifts today, remember you should be buying them most days and not just on this one particular day. And so keep that all in perspective. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And please, please, please share this with others so people know the truth. And may the truth set you free. Everybody have a great day, and shalom, shalom.